Oh, fuck, it's horse beef here, fuck. And today I would like to explore something, alright? I know I made a few Jon Jones videos already this week, but as you can see on screen right now, suspiciously, we're reverting back to the original, or the OG, I guess you could say, UFC gloves, very conveniently leading up to a Jon Jones fight. Very, very strange to make the decision before a Jon Jones fight, considering that the newer gloves were designed to mitigate the risk of eye pokes, and Jon Jones is the most notorious eye poker and, quite frankly, the most notorious cheater in UFC history. And how exactly can Jon Jones be considered the GOAT and also the most notorious cheater in UFC history? For me, those two things are very much mutually exclusive. You know what I mean? So it's very strange to me how both things can be true to some people. And it's not in the case of really separating the art from the artist, right? When it comes to Jon Jones' personal life, right? Whether he hit his wife or not and battered her the way that he appeared to have done, although it is just alleged at this point, right? But you can separate that. You can be a woman beater, and as horribly as it sounds, right? You can be a woman beater, but also be the greatest fighter of all time. You know, those two factors are not mutually exclusive, but cheating in the octagon and doping and also being the GOAT, right? Those, for me, are very much mutually exclusive factors. And for me, it makes no sense to call him the GOAT when he has this massive cloud hanging over his head with all of these controversies, right? And I'm not talking about his personal life. So I would like to focus and explore the cheating history, whether that be drug cheating or in-cage antics of Jon Jones, because I believe puts a massive asterisk beside his overall legacy, because it seems to be, you know, oh, if Jon Jones beats Stipe, another feather to the cap, oh, he's the GOAT, right? Solidified the GOAT, and I'm sure Dana White will take the time to push him back up to number one pound for pound, whether he deserves it or not. In my opinion, a win over Stipe, a 42-year-old Stipe, would not do that for him, but let's just pretend like it's justified. Let's move on, man. I would like to explore the specifics of Jon Jones' misdeeds throughout his UFC career.
So Daniel Cormier is saying before the fight that I'll end up poking him in the eyes at some point. And the reason why he says that is because I do poke people in the eyes. And it's very illegal, but I do.
Ooh, man, nothing like admitting to blatantly cheating in every single one of your fights. Obviously, he didn't specify in every single one, but if you've watched, like, go back and watch all of his fights, right? He does the same shit. He rakes all of his opponents in the eyes. I don't even know if I could think of a single fight where he wasn't able to do that. Maybe only in fights where his opponents had him matched in the reach department, but against all of his shorter opponents, you will see him doing that exact same thing. He's not just framing. No. He is putting his fingers out there by his own admission, so that you will accidentally walk into his fingers, right? It's a bit of a loophole, I guess, but openly admitting to it, and coupled with the fact that he never even received a point deduction for doing it, shows that he's not only a cheater, but has been enabled to do so.
So, like, the first thing is, if it's not worth a warning, don't open your mouth, okay? Like, sometimes you'll just have incidental contact and the fighter didn't need the warning. If you have to discuss a warning with somebody, there's soft warnings and there's hard warnings, you know. And if you give somebody a hard warning once, probably the next time, probably the point needs to come off. And if you're not using your toolbox, if you're not using it, then we'll, you know, we really need to find somebody else that will, because this idea of warning is a disservice to the other fighter.
Did I just hear that correctly? Warning is a disservice to the other fighter. And if it's just, you know, incidental contact and there's no need to open your mouth, you know. So pretty much what we're hearing there is when Jon Jones just sticks his fingers out there for you to walk into, it's just incidental contact, ref, and you shouldn't be opening your mouth or deducting a point for anything. And that's pretty much what we've actually seen as far as the treatment of Jon Jones so far throughout his illustrious careers. He's been able to perform incidental contact cheating, right, quote unquote, with no repercussions to follow. And I agree that we should get less warnings, but we should also have more point deductions in order to discourage the purposeful incidental contact fouls from fighters like Jon Jones, of course.
Sticking my hand out and pushing their face away, kind of like you see on TV where like the big brother's holding his little brother and the little brother can't hit him, right? Because his arms isn't like long enough or whatnot. And I do that in real fights. Like if someone's coming at me, I'll just put my hand on their forehead. And a lot of times they end up missing the punch that was intended for my face. And sometimes it lands in people's eyes. And people hate that. They're like, Johnny, you're a very talented fighter. You don't need to use an illegal tactic to be successful. I try to tell people it's not intentional, but now I'm kind of known for it. And it's working.
Man, he is so good at playing the villain. He really is. Like once he gets to running his mouth and admitting to cheating openly with that fucking smile on his face, it's amazing, dude. Like Jon Jones, he is the perfect heel. I just wish he would embrace it more, because if he did, it wouldn't be as annoying to see him ducking Tom Aspinall and to go through all of his cheating antics throughout the UFC. Like, it would be more fun to hate him, but in this sense, it's just more frustrating than anything, considering that he is the GOAT. And when he says that, people say like, "Hey, you're so talented. Why are you cheating?" Is like, that, yes, why? You are one of the most talented fighters of all time, and I'm one of these people who doesn't believe that he won all of his fights because of steroids, right? Even if he was on steroids throughout his whole career, it's not because of steroids, right? It's not because of steroids that he won his fight. You don't get fight IQ from steroids. It gives you physical advantages, but a lot of combat sports comes down to the mind, right? It comes down to how strong you are mentally, and Jon Jones is clearly elite when it comes to mental strength and also just physical attributes. He has one of the deepest tool chests in the history of the sport, and an incredible fight IQ to go along with it. He seemed to rarely make a misstep earlier on in his career. So, no, I don't think it's only steroids, but it's still an asterisk. And there's a reason why Anderson Silva is oftentimes taken out of that GOAT discussion for a lot of people. He tested positive. He tested positive too. Why is there a double standard when it comes to Anderson Silva? Is because he lost fights towards the end of his career, so it's easy now to shit on him, but Jon Jones is still technically undefeated. Well, he will definitely be undefeated after the appeal, and we'll get into that right now, actually.
He kind of came out and said, all right, like, can you get rid of this L on my record? Dana White as well, saying that it should be removed. There's the tweet from Jon Jones, undefeated then, undefeated now. Dana White, we got to get that loss out of the history books. Is that something that can even happen in your opinion, or does that not make any sense 14 years later to change that?
Well, I mean, the rule was what it was then. It's different now. It'd be hard to go back. I'd be actually supportive of getting rid of that, but it's not my decision. But I'm not, I think it's hard to go back with the rule being different than it is now.
To be clear, you'd be supportive of that loss being overturned to a win, or to just a no contest?
Yeah, to a no contest.
Yeah. Wow.
The idea of going back retroactively and overturning a result when the rules were what they were at that time, that doesn't make any sense. And that never actually works out, does it? But of course, when you're Jon Jones and you got that Dana White privilege, he may just be able to get away with it. In my opinion, yeah. Does anyone even look at that loss as a loss in the first place? No, he was battering Matt Hamill, right? He was battering Matt Hamill until Matt Hamill TKO'd him via head to elbow strikes. I mean, so like, what the fuck are we doing here, man? Why are we trying to overturn a disqualification loss when he broke the rule at that time, right? He threw multiple 12-6 elbows and delivered some nasty damage to Matt Hamill's nose, if I remember correctly. So what are we doing? It's almost like this rule was overturned specifically for this purpose of appealing Jon Jones, right? Then yeah, you have as I said at the beginning of the video, the old gloves being brought back for this event, right? With the eye pokes. And then on top of that, you even have some other factors coming into play that could exonerate Jon Jones of all of his doping scandals as well. What do you know? It's so convenient for him. Let's see. And now here's the article in question here. It says, Jon Jones, UFC star, says USADA rule changes clear him of being a steroid cheat. And this was March 2nd of last year. Jon Jones feels he has been cleared of being a steroid cheat after changes to the threshold levels for certain prohibited drugs. Former UFC champion Jones was banned for 15 months in 2017 after testing positive for an anabolic steroid, but the 35-year-old says under the new legal limit introduced by United States Anti-Doping Agency, USADA, which UFC is no longer with in the first place, so this should not even matter one fucking iota, right? He would have been cleared. I feel set free. People consider me a cheater. So what? The rules changed. Now all of a sudden you're not a cheater, but you were a cheater, and you are a cheater because you cheated under the rules that were enforced back then. So you are still a cheater. This whole idea of rewriting history retroactively to sort of prop up Jon Jones's legacy is so fucking dishonest. But let's just get through the rest of the quote here. Now, if that same rule would have been applied back then, it would have never even made the media. It would have never been a big deal. Except back then, you were a drug cheat, and still you were a drug cheat, right? You may not be a drug cheat anymore, but you were a drug cheat back then. And this rule change makes not a single difference. But how about this steroid suspension, right? Wasn't that original rematch with DC supposed to take place a year earlier, but Jon Jones tested positive for anti-estrogen, right? Estrogen blockers, very, very common in the use of steroids, right? To balance out your hormones and make sure you don't grow a fucking titty. But of course, I want to get into the little Twitter exchange he had with Israel Adesanya here about said titty that is present on Izzy, but not on Jon Jones. Now, this little exchange was regarding, I believe, a story told by Chael Sonnen of Jon Jones hiding under a ring, hiding away from USADA for quite a bit of time. And Israel Adesanya actually tweeted about this. Fun facts: I napped under the cage in 2010 because I didn't want to waste gas going home, so I stayed at the gym till evening training. Jonathan stayed under the cage to hide from USADA during a random drug test. This is facts. Y'all must have forgot. And Johnny Bones Jones replies to him saying, "Brother, explain your titty. I was hiding from Nevada State Athletic Commission, not USADA, and that was 2 years ago. I just smoked a blunt and was afraid I would fail my test for weed." So whether that story is true or not makes no difference. Israel Adesanya was so far into Jon Jones' head around this time in history that he actually got Jon Jones to admit that the story by Chael Sonnen was 100% true, right? Whether he was hiding from VADA or USADA, whatever, he was still hiding from a commission to avoid testing positive for banned substances, regardless of if it was steroids or not. And that's my biggest issue with the UFC right now and the way that they're trying to prop up Jon Jones, because there's all of this focus on the picogram, like the pictogram, acting like he didn't know how to fucking even say the word at that time. Personally, I forget because I haven't heard the word for years, and that was the first time I'd even heard that word was because of that scandal. Pictogram, picogram, whatever it is, right? We're only focusing, or most people, Dana White, Jon Jones, they focus on him being exonerated because of that, right? Because of the USADA rule change. But the estrogen blockers have not been explained. Dude, you were still suspended for taking estrogen blockers, which is consistent with being on a steroid cycle. So why do you not bring that up? You're not exonerated because of that. You're still a drug cheat, right? The USADA rule change, even if you believe that retroactively, yes, he's exonerated, but no, the USADA rule change has nothing to do with any sort of rule change towards estrogen blockers. You can still not take estrogen blockers. So what are we on about here? Let's be honest with it. Jon Jones is a drug cheat, whether you like it or not. It's true. Now, I don't want to hear shit about dick pills, right? Tainted, off-brand dick pills, Cialis, whatever Jon Jones' excuse was for tainted supplements. The only reason why Jon Jones, well, there's one of two reasons why Jon Jones would need Cialis. It's because either he has ED, which he has never admitted to, or MMA Guru's theory on Jon Jones' personal life and his sexual preference has some truth to it, man. Like, it kind of just adds up.
I was so into doing something that has never been done before. You know, not the 2 champs. Obviously, I wanted that more than anything. I wanted to prove I'm the best in the world, but was also to drop that weight class. I decided to take something I knew I wasn't allowed to take. I'm obviously going to own up that I cheated, I got caught. And it's a rough one, man. It's hard not to hate yourself a little bit.
Now, even though TJ Dillashaw's legacy is as tainted as Jon Jones' dick pills were, apparently, this garners, I believe, all the respect in the world for actually taking accountability, as much respect as I can give TJ Dillashaw, right? He's always been such a fierce competitor that, you know what, cheating was always on the books for him because he was such a fierce competitor, and he flew too close to the sun, bit the bullet, you know what I mean, paid the price, and took accountability for it. So I have to give him respect. And now he's on all the steroids in the fucking world, apparently. If you look at him right now, holy shit, dude, in 2024, he looks like he can compete at fucking heavyweight, dude. Let's get him on short notice against Jon Jones if Stipe drops out, or vice versa. Goddamn, he's looking juicy. Holy fuck. But at least he took accountability for it. And I'm pretty sure he tried some excuses, but to eventually come out and speak candidly about it does deserve some respect, because Jon Jones has never spoken candidly or honestly about any of his drug cheating scandals. Now, all this really comes down to is the problem of the preferential treatment that Jon Jones has been getting. The UFC, Dana White, holding him up as if he's like the gold standard of the sport, even though he's had all of these controversies, suspended multiple times for testing positive for banned substances with weak excuses to go along with it, man. And I'm not even getting into the personal life stuff, because for me, like I said, you can separate that from him as a fighter. He can still be the greatest fighter and be a piece of shit human, but you cannot be the greatest fighter of all time, in my opinion, and be a steroid user, a cheat, especially in a combat sport where there are dire consequences. It's actually pretty fucked up to be a steroid cheat in combat sports more than anything else. Like, look at Barry Bonds, for example. I don't even watch baseball, but Barry Bonds had an incredible record even before he tested positive for the steroids. Broke a record this season where he popped for steroids, I believe, and now there are a bunch of people lobbying to keep him out of the Hall of Fame, right? And he already was a potential Hall of Famer before the steroid cheating. You see what I mean? Jon Jones in this case is being held up despite testing positive multiple fucking times, being a cheater in the octagon, and just generally not being a guy that you should want to prop up to this extent. It makes no sense to me, but those are my thoughts overall on Jon Jones as a cheater. I look forward to the fight this weekend. I hope he doesn't cheat. I hope whether he wins or he loses, I hope it's a clean fight regardless. But with these with the older gloves coming into play, I have a sneaking suspicion that Stipe may leave this fight with a fucking eye patch, dude, because Jon Jones is going to go free reign, open season eye pokes on Stipe Miocic. He's very susceptible to them. DC took a page out of Jon Jones' book when he fought Stipe all 3 times before Stipe got him back with one of his own, dude. Justice for Stipe Miocic. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the next one.